मुझे आप सभी को केसी रिव्यू के 12 सेट दिखाने हैं। जिसके पास नहीं है वो ले लेगा, उनको कंप्लीट करके लेके आएगा डिक्टेशन के साथ में। प्रेजेंट, एग्रीकल्चर, साथ में जो 2B से लेके 2D तक का है उनके कंटेंट के साथ डिक्टेशन। और ये सारा काम आप हो सके तो मंडे तक का सारा खत्म करेंगे, इन सब कामों के अलावा जो कुछ तुम कर रहे हो उसके अलावा। जिसके पास सेट नहीं है अभी सेट आ जाएंगे 1 घंटे के आसपास, 2 बजे तक का, तो फिर वो सेट ले सकता है, जो जो पेंडिंग सेट्स है। जो मुझे सुबह बोलनी थी वो थी SSC C एंड D ग्रेड टेस्ट 79 YouTube @100 @80, और एक मैं सीन कंटेंट बोलूंगा। सीन कंटेंट में मिडिल में लेके जाऊंगा क्योंकि स्टार्टिंग का आपका सारा तैयार हो चुका है लगभग केसी, इन सब कंटेंट के साथ में 200 प्लस लेके जाऊंगा। और सेकंड वाले बैच में मैं बोल रहा हूँ 300 प्लस से। तो मुझे नहीं लगता कोई केसी या कोई कंटेंट बचेगा आपका तब तक का जो आपने नहीं किया होगा। पहले 100 भी लिखेंगे, फिर 80 भी लिखेंगे, और फिर सीन कंटेंट लिखेंगे। सीन कंटेंट आपको दोनों तरह से होगा, विद कोमा नो कोमा। रेडी? हंड्रेड वाली डिक्टेशन आराम से लिख सकते हो, बहुत आसान कंटेंट है, आप काफी ज्यादा यूज कर चुके होंगे इसको। स्टार्ट इट। Mr. Deputy Chairman, sir, I extend to this resolution my wholehearted support, though I wish he had extended its scope by incorporating within it 2 more services, but then I cannot deal with that subject now. You have assured me that the matter will be taken up on a subsequent occasion. I do not know when that subsequent occasion is likely to occur. Sir, I am grateful to the Home Minister for some kind words he has said about me in regard to my interest in this subject. No doubt, for long I have been urging the necessity of creating more All India services. During the last 5 years or so, even since that recommendation on the subject was made by the States Reorganization Commission, and during the last 1 year and a half, near about that time, I have been tabling resolutions on the subject twice or thrice, but they could not come up. Of course, as they say, there are higher forces that govern the destiny of things, and so far as Parliament is concerned, it is the government and the undisputed sway of the chair that govern the destiny of resolutions. Obviously, it was so ordained that this resolution should come up only now, and that too as a government sponsored resolution. Even as it is, I welcome it most heartily and feel enthusiastic and even jubilant about it. Sir, I sincerely congratulate the Honorable the Home Minister for the tact, the firmness, the strength and the determination which he has shown in overcoming all the obstacles and difficulties which I am sure were there in his way. The opposition and unwillingness of the states were there initially, I know. And I also know, sir, that about a year ago, when I tabled a question on this subject, the then Home Minister told us that the government would be only too glad to have more All India services, but then the handicap in their way was that the states were not agreeable to it. Subsequent to that, sir, about the middle of this year, I wrote to all the chief ministers requesting them to let me know their views on this subject, and I was a little unhappy to find that no Chief Minister replied to me saying that he was agreeable to it. One or two of them especially said that they were against it. So all these difficulties were there in the way of the Home Minister. But I find that by his sweet persuasion, he has been able to win over all the chief ministers who in the conference immediately preceding the last one agreed to it in principle, and in the subsequent conference they agreed to it. It appears obviously in toto, and hence we have before us this resolution supported by the chief ministers of all the states. Sir, for that I want to congratulate most sincerely and heartily the Honorable the Home Minister. Now, sir, so far as the merits of this resolution are concerned, I do not think it is necessary for me to elaborate on them, because during the last 4 years or so, ever since the publication of the report of the States Reorganization Commission, many eminent men all over the country, eminent administrators and persons who had experience of administration, including the retired Comptroller and Auditor General, were of the opinion that more All India services should be created. Our Honorable the Prime Minister as also our Vice President have on more than one occasion expressed themselves definitely in favor of having more All India services. Last year, sir, about the month of October, when addressing the Indian Police Service officers when they were going out after having and had their training for a year, he expressly said that if national integration was to be maintained, it was necessary to have more All India services. That being so, I think there is not much need for us to emphasize the necessity and the utility for having more All India services. Sir, in the interest of efficiency and also in the interest of integrity, it is absolutely necessary that we should have these three All India services as also some others. The major problem these days before us is that successful implementation of the development programs has to be carried through. It is not enough that we should have big schemes. It is not enough that we should allocate large sums for the implementation of those schemes. But it is necessary that we should have competent personnel to effectively implement our schemes so that in a short time we may be able to carry forward our country to economic prosperity all round. In the past, during the pre-independence period, we had quite a number of All India services, but then when we framed our constitution, we dispensed with the others, retaining only two. It appears to me that necessity has now arisen for reorganization of the All India services and to have more All India services. Now, coming back to the question of minorities, you will please find why this particular resolution has been so widely put in that it might include a religious minority as well, a linguistic minority as well, or an economic minority, as some honorable members rightly pointed out. Now, sir, a question arises whether there ought to be any such protection insofar as a particular type of minority is concerned. I shall deal with the question of minorities at some length. But you will please find, sir, what the honorable mover wants is that there ought to be a permanent minorities commission. It ought to be endowed with statutory powers. Therefore, sir, an attempt is being made for the first time by my honorable friend for driving a wedge between a community and a community. So far as the Constitution is concerned, as my honorable friend rightly pointed out, whenever the question of minorities arises, we have to be extremely careful. The Constitution is a very sacred document which has embodied all the different aspects of the common question of India's nationality. India is one in spite of different types of languages and religions. But in the midst of all these diversities, we have to develop a common nationality. 100 की स्पीड है, सेट नंबर 79 के से अवेलेबल होगा आपके पास में. 80 पे लिखेंगे. Start it. Sir, there are service cooperative societies, there are consumer cooperative societies, there are marketing societies and warehousing corporations, which are also a form of cooperative societies. So, we have got all rural population in making their farm and their small industries go forward and improve. I have only to request the Honorable Minister and to bring to his notice the following note by way of any criticism, because in every moment it is quite natural that in the beginning, when we want to give it a good impetus, when we want to carry it forward into villages, then in the zeal to spread it far and wide, we lose sight of the qualitative aspect of the movement. Let us not forget that the qualitative aspect of this movement has to be improved. Now, sir, the movement of cooperatives was started in order to lift the downtrodden people, in order to remove exploitation in the villages. But what do we find? We find that this good movement of cooperative societies is being exploited by the very people whom we wanted not to come in the way of the downtrodden, to march forward. Whenever a cooperative society is started in any village, we find those very people who have some stake, who are somebody who have their farming flourishing, joining the movement. They take charge of these cooperative societies and take advantage out of them. They get loans on very easy terms, and it is not necessary that they should invest these loans on the productive side either of farming or industry, but they utilize it in many cases, in most of the cases, to discharge their family necessities. Supposing they require money for their daughter's marriage, they will use the money they have borrowed from the cooperative society for that purpose. So, these people who have been exploiting the downtrodden people in the villages are still doing it through these cooperative societies. From the figures, we find that every year the loans granted by the cooperative societies to the farmers are increasing at a very rapid pace, and we also find that they have been realized with equal speed. Every year, the realization is successful. A person who is clever enough can manipulate these things. I will give a very salient example in this connection, and I think it will be astonishing. In the villages, what we find in connection with the realization of these cooperative loans is no realization at all. It is a bogus affair. I speak with a full sense of responsibility. What the people in charge of these cooperatives do is simply this, that they realize the loans by asking certain debtors to repay the loan, but the loan is not actually repaid, but it is only adjusted in the books of the society as repaid. The loan is advanced again to the same farmer for the next year. So the realization is shown, and at the same time a fresh loan is again advanced, and these exploiters who are in charge of these societies charge some percentage for doing this. What I wanted to convey to the minister is that he has been spreading this movement far and wide. It is quite all right, but the time has come when we have to see the quality aspect of it. Take another case. Wherever these societies have to serve the downtrodden people, we find that these have not spread so fast as they have done in the case of others. Take the weavers, cooperative societies. For these societies, there is a policy of the government that if the weavers form into cooperative societies and they have been using handlooms for preparing their cloth, they can have power looms on credit on very easy terms, and they can also have some grant or subsidy. This is a very easy method of converting all the hand looms of the weavers into power looms, but what we find is that the movement is not spreading so rapidly because it has been clearly laid down that the power looms will only be given to genuine cooperative societies of the actual weavers and to displace the handlooms that have been working in the past. Our target was to give 30,000 or so power looms to these weavers cooperative societies, but we have been able to give so far only about 3,000. The result is shocking here because we have laid down that the power looms will only be given to genuine cooperative societies of actual weavers. The actual weavers, these small men, do not take advantage of it because in our zeal to spread this movement rapidly, we have not taken care to see that these small industrialists in the villages are ingrained in the method of cooperation or taught the advantages of cooperation and taught to take advantage of this cooperative movement for advancing their trade either of farming or of small industries. We have to do it now. 840 वर्ड है, 80 स्पीड है, फ्लेक्सेशन 5 वर्ड अपसाइड में है और ये आपको SSC C D टेस्ट नंबर 79 @80 के नाम से मिल जाएगा. अब आप सीन कंटेंट लिखेंगे विद कोमा नो कोमा फाइल, दोनों फाइल मिल जाएगी इसके अंदर 80 पे. मैगजीन पास करो, देखो ना. Ready? Let's start it. Mr. Deputy Chairman, this resolution, insofar as it goes to evolve a scheme for the translation and preparation in Hindi and in all regional languages of standard textbooks and connected works for higher education and research, including scientific and technical studies, is an excellent resolution. It is a harmless one, and I am sure that the House will express its view on it. We are happy that those things are there, but it is not a very easy task to carry out this translation in Hindi and all regional languages. I would ask, where have you got the personnel, the trained personnel for carrying out these translations? Have you collected the standard textbooks and connected works for higher education and research first of all? Have you gathered the material to be handled? And secondly, have you got the trained personnel to cope with this work? Sir, this requires very careful investigation simply because we are dealing not with factories or industrial products, but with the minds of people ranging from childhood to the university stage with their development in regard to ideas and concepts. It is a very, very important point to consider whether we have got these two in readiness before we attempt such a task. Sir, I find that as it is, the changeover from one language to another, from one medium to another, has been attempted with very injurious effects on the minds of children as well as of the teaching staff. There is a great deal of confusion from the school to the university stage over this question. We cannot perform a cop de-itate or a changeover overnight on this problem that concerns the minds of the young. Therefore, sir, with all due respect, I would request any committee or any scheme that is launched to go very widely into this subject and to study all the repercussions it will have before such a thing is attempted. An over-hurried translation has resulted in tragedies in the schools as well as in the colleges. Examination papers had been set and evaluations had been undertaken in the so-called regional languages. One examiner differing from the other with regard to the terms that were used in those questions and answers. Therefore, we should not play with fire, as it were. Language is the life of a nation, of a people. Therefore, when we are dealing with this question of language, all languages are important in my opinion. I will not say that Hindi is not important or the regional languages. In fact, we should provide opportunities for the promotion and cultivation of all languages in our country. In this connection, I would say that while there should be a common language, it will take a long time before Hindi becomes a language of use in many parts of India. The argument has been given again and again that while Hindi gives an advantage to the Hindi speaking areas, those parts of the country which have absolutely nothing in common with this language will take a long time before they accept to the change. That point is very vital to the translations, to the imposition of these books of Hindi on non-Hindi speaking people. Therefore, all that I can say is that you must go about courteously, because Hindi is going to be a common language for the country, and in translating books into Hindi and in giving such books to the people, we must be very careful that the terms that are commonly accepted by all should be adopted. In this connection, I would request that while this work is going on, we should not try to translate literally commonly accepted terms from one language to another. Whether they have come from the English language or from Sanskrit should be checked. Commonly accepted terms that have come into the use of not only the 5 million English educated people of this country, but even into the vocabulary of the masses in rural areas should not be literally translated simply because these terms are in English or in Sanskrit. I am saying this because you have got the zeal for the regional languages or Hindi that they must be converted, even if the translation takes a whole line instead of a small little word. That should not be done. The words, so long as they have come into common parlance even among the masses, like tram, bus, court, college, parliament, etc., need not be translated into a regional language or into Hindi. In the same way, I would say, with regard to humanities, that I have taught political science and economics and other sociological subjects, and there too the terms are difficult to be translated, and where lecturers who have well qualified in regional languages have attempted this translation, the students could not follow, nor could two lecturers follow the terms that were being used. I am not saying that until eternity we should have the constitution of any particular language, namely English. ये आपको विद कोमा नो कोमा दोनों फाइलों के नाम से मिल जाएगा. 840 वर्ड है, केसी सोर्स है, 201 नंबर है इसका, 201 नंबर है. आप टाइप कर सकते हो. अगर इनमें से कोई भी अच्छा कंटेंट टाइप नहीं किया तो आप सीन कंटेंट की डिक्शन लेकर वो टाइप करेंगे. और